back. Welcome to episode 2 of season 3.
I can't believe we're in season 3.
Yeah. I don't even know when this is going to air.
Sometime in August, I think.
Yeah. It's July 6th right now.
Yeah.
And
the 6th. It feels like the
I know.
15th.
So we just had the 4th of July holiday.
Yeah.
What did you do?
Nothing. Stayed home. Watched TV.
Was it loud here?
Oh my god, it was so loud. It sounded like people were like in the courtyard setting them off. They weren't, but that's what it sounds like here because I think it's like
probably
neighbors and it echoes so loud. And at one point, it went from the day before, but here fireworks go off until 3 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, like my neighbors upstairs, like their little girl woke up just crying, and she's like 2.
Yeah.
And poor thing.
Back when I lived in Huntington Beach, they would go off until like 3 a.m. on like July 8th.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there were still some last night.
Like a week-long extravaganza. So
they've been going off since like the weekend before, like since like last weekend.
Yeah. So we live next to a retirement community.
Oh.
So it's very quiet. And you can kind of hear like distant, like the big like actual like professional fireworks. You can hear them in the distance. But it doesn't go late and nobody's letting them off near us. So
that's nice.
It's very nice. It's very peaceful. But we went to our local like community thing where we went and saw the fireworks.
Yeah.
It was weird though because I was thinking it's like so depressing because I'm sitting here watching the fireworks and they're really beautiful, and of course like my social media feed is like full of like, how dare you celebrate it? No, you should celebrate it. We can still love our country and be critical of it, and like very like all across the board. So like my thoughts are thoughting.
Yeah.
And it like I kept thinking like, wow, this would be really traumatic for like, I was thinking of like children in like Palestine and Gaza, of like coming here and like having this like, man, this like they hear this all the time, but it's like real.
Well, I think about
like oh,
and also like I think about
heavy.
soldiers and
yes, that somehow we've made these like basically tiny bombs to be like, oh, it's so beautiful and fun and celebratory, and it's really interesting
for everyone.
I mean, and I love fireworks, and I've always loved the 4th of July because of the fireworks. I also like the vibe of like a barbecue in the summer, and it's one of those holidays that you can spend with your friends, and you know, it's not necessarily family, it's more, you know, just community.
Yeah, I think of like hamburgers and corn on the cob and like baked beans,
block parties, and you know,
I mean, that's not how my 4th of July's ever were, but yeah,
that's how I had a lot like that, and it kind of bums me out that it doesn't feel like that anymore. So I like going to the local community because like we didn't run into as many people this year, but we usually run into some of my daughter's friends, and it's kind of fun. Yeah,
like one year, I remember we were at my grandparents for 4th of July. I mean, there were a couple of years while my parents were married, but I just distinctly remember one year, and I don't know if it was before or after my parents got divorced, but we were at my grandparents for the 4th of July, and they live in like a small town. I mean, they lived in a small town in Northern California, and we probably talked about it before, but I remember we went to like the community like fireworks show or whatever, and we went with this girl. Like everyone was always trying to find friends for me in the summer because like I was the only child, and like, you know, everyone was just trying to find a friend for me to hang out with. But you know, some of my cousins were close to my age, but you know, they had their lives and we lived overseas, and so it was just like, oh, hang out with your cousin who you barely know, you know what I mean? And most of the time it was fine, but sometimes it was like, anyway, we were there. And this poor little girl that we went with, like she was one of those kids that was afraid of fireworks, so she was like hands over her ears, just like scream crying, and I'm like, and I'm sitting there like, nothing's gonna hurt you, it's fine. Like calm down. But yeah.
So yeah, speaking of things that are fun, sparkly, and very problematic, let's talk about Mean Girls.
It's a perfect segue.
So Mean Girls, which is what we're talking about, obviously. I don't dress like this on a normal basis, but it felt...
I do.
It felt the part. It was released in 2004. Production by Broadway Video, distributed by Paramount Pictures, directed by Mark Waters, and written by Tina Fey, based on Queen Bees and Wannabes by Rosalind Wiseman. Produced by Lorne Michaels, who also did SNL. if you don't know that.
Yeah.
Starring Lindsay Lohan, Rachel McAdam, Lacey Chabert, Amanda Seyfried, Lizzie Kaplan, Danielle Franzese, Tim Meadows, Anna Gasteyer, Amy Poehler, and Tina Fey. Teenage Katie Heron, played by Lohan, was educated in Africa by her research zoologist parents, but finds herself experiencing public school for the first time at North Shore High School. She's befriended by Janice, played by Kaplan, and Damien, played by Franzese, who explain the cliques of the school, including the 3 most popular girls, dubbed the Plastics, and led by Regina George, played by McAdams. Katie unwittingly finds herself part of the Plastics when Regina suddenly takes back her ex and Katie's crush, Aaron Samuels, a senior? I know, I lost my place. Secretly working with Janice and Damien, she plots revenge by sabotaging Regina's perfect body, boyfriend, and the loyalty of the Plastics, but becomes more plastic herself. Dun, dun, dun. You can get it with a subscription on places like Amazon Prime, Paramount Plus, YouTube TV. I actually own it, but I rented it because I didn't want to watch it on TV. I wanted to move it around. So I rented it so I could have it on my mobile devices.
I will say I've done that before because I didn't have my DVD player hooked up, and then I couldn't figure it out. And it was like we wanted to watch something and I couldn't figure it out, and I was like, just plug it in. You know what I mean? Right. It was like, I'll just rent it for like $4.
Yeah.
That's how they get you.
So when did you see it first?
I first saw it at your house.
Oh, right.
A few years ago.
I forgot about
when
that.
we came up with the idea for this podcast.
Yeah.
A former friend of ours hadn't seen it. Hadn't seen Clueless.
Right.
And I hadn't seen Mean Girls. Because I'm a little bit older.
Yeah.
It was just after, I think, my demographic.
You were in college, out of college,
I was out of college. When did it?
2004.
Yeah, I'd been out of college for 3 years. So it was just one of those things, it wasn't something I watched and saw. And I think that was before I was friends with there's this group of people here in LA that I'm friends with, and they're all 5 years younger than me. So they're all turning 40 this year, and they all watched it. But I think it was before I was friends with them. Otherwise, I think I would have watched it
with them
before I knew you.
Yeah.
But didn't see it. Wasn't really my
interest.
I was a Clueless girl.
Yeah. I was both. But it was I was younger when Clueless came out, but still of age to watch it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't during my formative years. But
yeah.
I was a senior in high school when it came out.
Oh my God.
So I don't know if I saw it in the theater. It's one of those that I don't really remember the first time I saw it. I don't have a formative memory of it. But I saw it when it came out ish. So I definitely saw it during my senior year of high school.
Yeah.
And it is one of those movies that really fully embodies the time in which it was made.
Yes.
So from the fashion to the slang, the off-color jokes, it's really quintessentially early 2000.
Yes.
Especially the short pleated skirts.
Yes.
So early 2000. The bright colors, the pastels, the whole vibe of the
pink
movie.
of it all.
Yes. The very pink and girly, I feel like.
It's it was that early 2000s, uber feminine, but also kind of slutty.
Yeah. Which, funnily enough, wasn't me at all then.
No. Not that I knew you then, but from what I know of you, it was.
I was wearing, jeans and a loose t-shirt to school. I was definitely more Katie Heron.
Yeah.
Early Katie Heron. Yeah. Now I'm more Regina. Actually, I feel like I'm a lot more Gretchen.
Which one is Gretchen? Lacey Chabert.
Chabert,
yeah. Who
I used to watch on Party of Five.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
I think it's so funny that she was playing a teenager for so long.
I know. Well, most of the girls were in their 30s. How old was Rachel?
I think the only one,
Regina.
I think the only ones who were actually young were Amanda Seyfried and Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah. The rest of them were in their 30s.
Because Rachel McAdam was 30.
Right?
Yeah.
I hate that trend too.
Yeah.
I understand that it's easier to work with adults who are 18 because there's a lot of...
It's labor laws.
Yes. There's a lot of laws that come with hiring somebody that's underage. But what is wrong with hiring a 19-year-old to play a teenager?
I don't know.
But Anyways.
I don't think Rachel McAdams was actually 30 though, because that would make her like 50 now.
I know, but she was definitely in her like mid-20s.
She was old. She was definitely older.
She was, yes.
Yeah. It's like Stacey Dash was like, I want to say like 30 something when she was in Clueless.
Really? It doesn't surprise me though.
And Gabrielle Union was like way older and Bring It On. You know.
I don't know.
It is what it is.
Yeah. But yeah. It's...
Yeah. And then the second time I saw it was like last week when I was getting ready for the podcast.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, and this is going to come across, I think, when we talk about it, is it's one of those movies that I feel like if you didn't see it when you were younger, it's just going to hit differently. So yeah, I feel like if you see it when you're younger, it's like one of those where you have a fonder memory of it, and it's a little easier to overlook the problems.
Where I think Clueless didn't age in that way. You know what I mean? Like, there are some things that are not great.
It didn't have quite as many...
But it wasn't as off color.
No, it wasn't. It really wasn't.
Like, there were some things, you know?
Yeah.
But
I mean, it was
also, some of those things are very Los Angeles.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Well, and it was very... Clueless, it was a different story.
Yeah.
Whereas... Mean Girls it's Mean Girls.
It's a story about Mean Girls.
It's literally a story about the book that it's based on is a nonfiction book that talks about like bullying and like relationships between girls and things like that. And so there was no story there, but Tina Fey created the story basically to tell a story about girls being bitchy to each other.
Yeah.
So they are...
I mean, yeah, it is what it says it is, you know.
But, so there's an article, and we'll link it, where it's an interview with Tina Fey, and it's recent. It's talking about Mean Girls then and Mean Girls now. Because, of course, now there was the Broadway musical, and then now there's the movie that was very poorly marketed, by the way. Nobody knew it was a musical.
I was like, how are we remaking Mean Girls so soon?
Because it's a completely different movie, basically. It's
a
musical.
And it's been 20 years, but it's only been 20 years.
Yeah. But they didn't market it as the musical.
No, not at all.
Very poorly
Which,
done.
someone was like, oh, it's the musical. And I was like, oh.
Yeah. So... Also,
not every movie needs a musical, everyone. No. Let's just...
And I've seen the music. I've seen the stage musical. I haven't seen the movie yet. So I don't know. But apparently they did make a lot of changes.
Yeah.
Of there's a lot of jokes that they're like, this wouldn't stand today in the same way it necessarily okay then, but it's
different time.
So anyways, so let's dig into that.
Yeah, I was mostly just annoyed and uncomfortable the whole movie. It was so racist and so fat phobic and so shamey about people that I couldn't get past that.
Yeah.
To see the message. And I get what the message of the movie was that we don't have to tear each other down, blah 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 blah. But I think in trying to tell the story, it actually went too far.
Yeah.
But I think that's also a Tina Fey issue.
Yeah.
A common one for her is some racism that she probably needs to unpack and work on.
Yeah.
Just in other things that she has done as well, you know. It's a little bit white feminist for me.
Yeah. To me, it almost felt really intentionally problematic. It was trying to point out.
And I get that,
but,
yes.
I don't think it did a good enough job of saying that. And
I don't think it did either.
I'm projecting that. I tried to look for an article where maybe Tina may have said that, oh no, that was the intent. But I'm really her intent was just to show how mean girls are to each other. Yeah. That was the whole purpose. And I think accomplished.
And again, I'm watching it in a different time. I watched it the first time 7 or 8 years ago, and then watched it the second time this week. Yeah. And so it's sorry if you can hear any lawn mowing or anything. But I think I'm watching it through a different lens too.
Oh, totally.
Of a woke air quotes lens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I think that that's also part of it. Yeah. But I agree, it didn't do a good enough job of saying these things are wrong
Yes.
and not how you should talk about people.
Exactly. Like, they never addressed the fat phobia or said that, like,
No.
they said it was wrong to, like, make fun and, like, sabotage people and talk shit about them and be mean.
But then they still went on and, like, made a fat joke. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like...
Well, and they put her in the pink dress that was a smaller size and, like, obviously showed that she had lost the weight that she had gained. And it's like, okay, well, now she's back to normal. Yeah. She's fine. You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, there was a lot of that. The fat shaming was particularly
bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that was part of, like, the sabotage of Regina.
Yeah.
And making her fat.
Like...
And her obsession
also, like,
with, like I want to lose 3 pounds.
Also, like, she was never fat.
No.
Even, like, when she was fat,
yes.
air quotes, you know, like...
Yeah. Well, and apparently that was the part of the controversy with the musical movie, is the actress that they chose to play Regina is, like, a slightly larger size.
Than Rachel McAdams.
I guess. Yeah. And that people were like, oh, but she's supposed to be, like, thin and beautiful. And it's like, she is beautiful.
She is. And she is probably thin.
She is. I wouldn't call her big. She's just, like, she's taller girl for one.
Yeah.
You know? And Regina was always, like, a broader woman, like, because Rachel McAdams has, like, you know, she's not dainty like Amanda Seyfried and Lacey Chabert.
I mean, I don't think we need to dig into this, like, and keep comparing their bodies to each other, but yes, like, I mean, my issue is that, like, making her quote unquote fat, which she was never fat, was, like, somehow making her bad.
Yeah.
And
that was ruining her.
It was ruining her life. Like, that, it's just, it doesn't age well, and it doesn't sit well, and I think the fact that continued, that, like, that thread continued, bothered me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of the racism bothered me in this, like, especially, like, the lunchroom and like, how people are, who people are, and whatnot. But, you know, I do think it was trying to do something.
Yeah.
You know, and, like, I think the interesting part for me, less than the problems, right? Yeah. The more interesting part to me was, like, that Regina and what's her face? Lizzie Kaplan's character. Janice. I wanted to say Janet. Lizzie and Janice are just two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
They're both equally horrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, they're both bad people.
Well,
they're both mean. They're both,
I had
like,
noted that like,
underhanded.
I'm gonna get that, like, Regina really kind of ruined her life.
Sure.
In a manner of speaking, in that time, in that moment of, like, putting everybody, in the sense of, like, putting everybody in the school against her.
Yeah.
But that, like, somehow being told that you are gay is somehow this huge insult when her best friend is gay. Which is
also, like, the thing that I had an issue with, is, like, that this is so life ruining. And I get that, like, it was not the 90s, but, you know, it just doesn't age well.
Yeah.
It really doesn't age well.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that Tina Fey had mentioned, that, like, the joke where everybody is reading their, like, apology and then doing the trust fall. Mm-hmm. And Janice is about to do hers, and Regina's like, oh, it's her biggest dream, like, falling into a crowd full of women. And they scratched that from the Broadway musical and the movie. And she's like, that just, like, even Regina would know better, because everybody would be like,
who cares?
That's pretty fucking homophobic.
Yeah.
So, like, you just wouldn't say things like that, you know, and have it be accepted.
Yeah.
Especially in the context of, like, a high school with young people.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't fit, doesn't make sense. But, like, they still kept the storyline of her, you know, being called a lesbian, and, like, that's the worst thing.
And that somehow ruins your life.
And then, like, that Janice somehow lets it ruin her life.
Yes.
Whereas, like, most people would be like,
no.
Okay, you bitch, I'm done.
Like, and no, I'm not, but cool, bye. You know what I mean? But I think too, like, it just, anyway, I don't really have a thought.
Yeah.
Beyond that.
I did think that, like, Girl World really sucks. It has a lot of rules and things that I don't want to follow. I love pink, and I don't want to wear it every Wednesday. I don't want to ask their opinion for my dress. Sometimes I want to wear something because it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
I don't care if you like it, Traci.
Right? I think that too, like, I think femininity and womanhood has changed too since 2004. Because like when I think of all that pressure,
Yeah.
because I was 24,
Sisterhood.
and I think of all that pressure of like
Mm-hmm.
what we were supposed to wear and where we were supposed to go and what we were
Mhm.
supposed to do, and it was like the era of like Paris Hilton
Yeah.
and the advent of like reality TV being really awful.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, reality TV was invented in like 1994 when MTV did The Real World, right?
Yeah.
But this was like
This was on a whole nother level.
this was a whole nother level. This was also
the Real
like
World and Road Rules back then, but now
Yeah.
we had like Tila Tequila and Rock of Love and
yeah, that
not
was
the
even
Kardashians. Even
yeah.
like the Housewives didn't start then.
Mm-mm,
No,
not-
they were in
oh,
early 2000s.
Yeah, but so yeah, like the Real Housewives had started, but
Mhm.
it wasn't like this huge franchise.
like,
I
now
don't
we
think we
have
had
so
Tila
much
Tequila
more.
yet, but it was just like more.
No, Tila Tequila was definitely when I was in school.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That was not a college thing.
I don't remember. Oh yeah, it would. Yeah, you're right.
There's no more water left. In there.
But I think the part of it is that, and it is like the standards that we were upholding for ourselves were so awful.
Yeah.
Were so awful. It was, you know, it was just all about being thin and
Yeah.
being
When it wasn't
attractive,
just thin, it was being
like skinny.
waif.
Yeah. And being attractive and being like your sexuality had to be out there. It was
Mhm.
like it was the advent of like really great like sexual liberation, I think, but also
Only a certain kind.
and it was like still problematic, you know. It was like whatever wave, you know,
Mhm.
of feminism and sex positivity and whatever, but it was also like Sex in the City was like huge.
Mhm.
You know, everybody was out there like drinking cosmopolitans and sleeping around, and like it was just all this stuff that was just like so much pressure
Mhm.
to be a young woman at that time.
Yes.
And yeah, it was just like
Well, and it was
it was
very
just so much pressure.
white feminism at the time because it was very much tied to like this.
It's all, yeah, it was like, I don't know that I would call it white feminism, but I would say
Yeah.
it was like white centered.
Yes.
It was white centered, it was
We
wealth
think about
centered.
the icons that we
Yeah,
see. It favored one body type,
Mhm.
one culture. It was
Mhm.
very, like you said, like Paris Hilton. Like it really favored that
Yeah.
aesthetic.
It was Paris, it was Britney, it
Mhm.
was Christina Aguilera, who's not white, but like, you know,
Yeah.
it was just a lot of like, if you were really, really tiny, and that was around when a ton of actresses were like losing extreme amounts of weight.
Mhm.
Like even Sarah Michelle Gellar, who was already thin,
Yeah.
lost a ton of weight
Right.
throughout, like towards the end of Buffy. Like
Yeah.
she was so thin compared to where she was at
Yeah.
the beginning of Buffy. You know, Jennifer Aniston got so thin
Yeah.
over the course of Friends.
Oh yeah.
Like it was sickly.
well, look at Lindsay Lohan.
Oh, Lindsay Lohan got super thin.
Right?
Like, you know. And so that time was just, it was awful.
Yeah.
It was amazing in so many ways, and it was so awful in so
Yeah.
many others.
It wasn't a fun time if you weren't that.
Yeah.
And like even like fashion wise, like the super low rise jeans and
Mhm.
the belly chains and all of that. Like I never had like a fit body, so like all that stuff looked shitty on me.
I do really miss super low rise jeans though.
Oh, I
They were
don't,
so
but-
comfortable.
Hey, they make them now. You can get
Yeah,
them.
I know. I just
Yeah.
don't like anything like around my
Oh, I
waist.
do because
Like
it
I
tucks
just
me in.
no, I
because
just
that's
feel
just
so constricted.
my body just doesn't feel good when things hit there. But
Yeah.
that's the whole point. Like that was the only thing that was
Was in
like
super
the
low rise,
the whale
wide
tail.
or like not wide
Yeah.
leg, but like flare.
Yeah. Like you had to start seeing your like pubic
my
bone
God.
or like
Yeah, if your hip bones didn't stick out
yeah.
and thigh gap. Oh my God, we were.
hate
I mean,
it.
we're still so awful, but
Yeah.
we were blatantly so awful.
I feel like now the fashion is a lot more diverse
It is.
and we have a range.
Yeah, we talked about that in season 2.
Yeah. So I mean, thank
If you
goodness for
haven't
that.
listened to our hairspray episode, go
Yeah.
back because we talk with my friend Cricket, who's a fit model.
Yeah.
But-
And the only other thing that like really hit me and like really stuck out to me was why did the Spring Queen get Pancake House certificate and not the King?
Maybe they were supposed to go together.
Maybe she did get 2 certificates, but
Yeah.
like it was only specifically said that the Spring Queen got the certificates. Was it just to give a reason for Aaron Samuels to come over to her? Because I feel like just having him walk over would have sufficed.
I feel like some things are just plot devices.
Right? But like an unnecessary plot device.
Yeah.
Like it's just such a random thing of like, why her and not him?
Yeah. Yeah, I think because I didn't watch it when I was younger, I just like, it wasn't for me.
But I think that stuck out as, it just shows how ridiculous the whole movie is in general, that's
so ridiculous. I also did really like the Candygram scene.
You go, Glen Coco.
It's like so random, but also like exactly. I think too, some of the things that this is just not a criticism. Like, this is not like anything important criticism, but this is just like a thing. It's like I related to all the high school stuff that they were going to in a way that made me feel like Tina Fey wrote this as her high school experience, right? Like, I don't know if they still do Candygrams, but I was like, we definitely did that in junior high when like Tina Fey would have been in high school. Right. You know what I mean? Like, that was such a like 80s, 90s thing. I'm like, do they even do Candygrams in the 2000s? Like, is that a thing? Like, I mean, you were in high school, you would know, but like.
We didn't do them. I don't know if we did them at my school. I don't think we did.
Yeah. It was like, it felt like such like a 90s thing to me, like to do a Candygram.
We do Candygrams in the holidays for my daughter's elementary school.
Oh my God.
But it's a much different experience, I guess. I don't know.
It was like I just remember it was like such a popularity, like ostracizing thing too, of like, if you didn't get a Candygram, if you, you know, or if you did, like, ooh, what does it mean? Did you get one from a boy? Yeah. You know? And all the friends would send them to each other, and if like you didn't get one, you were like the out friend that week.
It was like a thing that you did to like tell your friend that you were mad.
It was exactly in the movie. It was exactly like that.
That's how I imagined it would be.
Yeah, but like when I was in junior high, in high school, it really wasn't.
Again, maybe we did it and I just didn't participate.
Maybe because it did cost money too.
You know, I didn't participate in a lot of things.
Yeah.
Because I was a joiner.
Yeah, I was.
I was not a plastic.
I was one of the popular kids. But it was hard not to be. Like, everyone was a popular kid. I don't feel like there was like a popular clique and like a not popular clique. There were definitely cliques in high school, but I had such a different experience like that. Yeah.
We had cliques.
Like, I was a cheerleader, but I was also a theater kid, you know? And like the other cheerleaders, some of the, like half the other cheerleaders were my friends and and they were also theater kids, you know what I mean? Like, it just was so different. Yeah. Like,
Katie was kind of a theater kid. Our other friend was both a cheerleader and also in band. Then we had another friend that was in jazz band, but like also we all did Knowledge Bowl together, which is like the quiz bowl.
Knowledge Bowl.
It's not like mathletes, but similar, just not specifically about math.
I did the Math Olympiad.
Yeah, there you go. You're a mathlete. But what I will say about this movie is, I like I said, it really did capture the generation and that time period, particularly with like the little quips and quotes, little moments.
It is very quotable. Yes, I will say. Like, I knew all the quotes before I had even seen the movie.
Yeah. Danny DeVito, I love your movies. You know,
stop trying to make fetch happen.
I said my final note was, but is it fetch? But is it fetch?
Yeah.
It's not as fetch as it was then.
No.
It's slightly less fetch. But do I have any other notes? No.
How fetch is it?
I know. It was fun. I enjoyed watching it back in the day. I still kind of enjoy watching it now, but with a different feel. Yeah. It feels nostalgic at this point.
I just remember I texted her and like when I was watching it and I was like, I don't think I like this movie. It's just not for me. You know what I mean? Like, I was too old for it when it came out, and so I just like missed that. Yeah. You know, it's like if my mom were not that I was my mom's age when but like it would be like if my mom were watching Clueless, it wouldn't be the same for her. Like,
this is silly.
Clueless was very much like not my high school experience because I didn't go to high school in LA, but it was like my high school movie. Yes. You know, like people before me had like all the John Hughes movies as their high school movie. Right. You know, like 16 Candles couldn't be my high school movie because I was in elementary school. Yeah. You know, but
yeah, I like that. But, and you know what's funny is it's so quotable and there's so many little quips, but I had a hard time finding a favorite quote because it's just little one-liners
Yeah.
that you just say in response to people.
Mm-hmm.
You can't sit with us.
Yeah.
But none of them were like really meaningful, like quotes or moments. I wrote down a couple, but like the teacher, Miss Norbury, says like, you all have got to stop calling each other sluts and whores because it just makes it okay for guys to call you sluts and whores. And I'm like,
that I did like.
That's true.
Yeah, that I liked.
Yeah.
I liked where it was trying to go.
Yeah.
I don't think it successfully got there.
Moments like that attempted to get that message across, but you know.
Yeah. I think only the last scene really, like, and really only Tina Fey's speech, like, nailed the message, really.
I mean, you see Katie, like, kind of come back to herself.
Yeah.
And try to make amends for everything she's done.
Yeah.
But, like, she still got the guy,
yeah.
you know?
I think, too, like, it was so over the top.
Yes.
I think that's part of the problem.
Hit by a bus.
Becomes satirical at some point where it's just not moving in the way that I wanted it to be moving. It was just too jokey. It was very SNL. Well, she used to be the head writer. So.
And it's Lorne Michaels.
You know. But yeah, I think
the whole thing
and Tim Meadows.
And it
like,
literally just hit me that the whole thing feels like an extended SNL sketch. Where it's like this funny bit, they're doing it for the laughs. And that's why the message didn't come across, because SNL is not about the message. Yeah. They're just about the laughs. Yeah. And that's why there's the one-liners and the quips and the, like, it's written funny. Yeah.
Like, SNL's always been political. Yeah. But it's never necessarily been, what's the word that I'm looking for?
It's not particularly deep.
No, not a fable, but, like, it's never really been, like, nope, it's gone.
Yeah. But I get you.
You know.
Somehow. You know.
Yeah, it's not a fable, but there's, like, you know, it's never really been like that.
And part of it is because it's just, like, they're just bits. Yeah. They're short little bits.
Like,
and this
3 minutes.
Like, and maybe, like, this movie just doesn't land in the same way because it's just, like, a bunch of bits. Yeah. And it's, like, at some point by the end of the movie, you're kind of like, okay, this is ridiculous.
I think it's why it's so quotable. Yeah. You know, because there are all these little pieces.
That's why it's fun. Yeah. I get why it made a good musical. The stage musical was pretty good. Yeah. I don't really remember any details about it that are particularly. Yeah. It's okay. It's not a musical I want to see again, but, like, it was good. Yeah.
It's one that I wouldn't necessarily buy a ticket for. Like, I would, if I had a package and it was included or whatever.
It was part of a season package. Yeah. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have gotten tickets to it.
Yeah. It's not interesting.
It came with the rest, so. Yeah. I don't even remember who I went with.
Not me.
I wonder if I went by myself. I know I didn't take my daughter. No. If I went to Mean Girls with you, let me know. Maybe I just went by myself.
You might have, because you usually go by yourself, don't you?
I have in the past. I now have 2 tickets to everything, though. But I think Mean Girls was a leftover of a previous season that I only had 1 ticket. I think I saw it by myself.
I think you did, too.
I highly encourage doing things by yourself. It's wonderful. It's lovely.
You know, anyone else's schedule?
Nope. I can go and eat where I want. I can show up at the theater when I want.
I used to be one of, like, my very few friends who had a Disneyland pass, and, like, I would just go by myself.
I love that. Single rider, so much easier.
It was, and you can just go and do whatever you want. Yeah. And if you don't want to go on, I don't know, whatever ride, you don't have to.
Nope. Nobody's making you.
And if you want to go on Pirates 9 times, you can. Not that that's what I didn't do that, but you know what I mean. Like, you can just do whatever you want.
I would just go on Single Rider Rise of the Resistance over and over again if I went by myself.
I miss having
and probably Space Mountain, because, like, nobody I ever go with wants to go on Space Mountain, and I love Space Mountain.
We have never been to Disneyland together.
Have we never been? No, yes, we have, but we went with Ginny. You came and met us.
Oh, I met you. Yeah. But we haven't just, like, gone.
No.
Us. Yeah.
Okay, bucket list.
I know.
Then we can go on Space Mountain.
It's such a Southern California thing.
I know.
Like, there are Disney adults, and then I think there are just, like, Southern Californian adults. Right. You know what I mean? Like, we either grew up going, or, like, it's just, like...
Well, I didn't go until I was 18. Yeah. Because I didn't live here. And then I moved here, and I was like, I'm going to go all the time. Yeah. And I got a season pass for $326. And that was the top tier pass.
My first...
They're so expensive now.
When I was in college was when they first started doing them. Yeah. And it was, like, amazing. It was $99. Oh, like, I don't think there were any
even go for a day for that much.
I don't even think there were blackout dates. Like, it was amazing. And we were in college, and so we were just, like, hey, you know, I've got like 3 hours. You want to take
Yeah.
a study break? And like, and we would just go to Disneyland.
Yeah.
We'd ride Pirates of the Caribbean. We'd have clam chowder in the bread bowl, and then we'd go home.
I love that. Oh,
You know,
yeah.
do a couple of things and
Half the
leave.
people I went to college with had passes.
It was,
Because back in the day, it was not astronomical.
yeah.
It wasn't as cheap as that, but it wasn't. And even a day pass was like $45.
Yeah, it was so much better. But then it got like super popular again, and like all the
Yeah.
Marvel stuff, and it just has made it like,
Yeah.
it's just such a cash grab.
Yep. But yeah.
Yeah.
Mean Girls
Mean Girls.
is mean.
Yeah. Not my favorite.
Yeah. It's funny though, I have a hard time picturing, there's part of me that always forgets that is Rachel McAdams.
Yeah.
Because it's so unlike anything else we
Anything
see
else
her in.
she's in. Yeah. Yeah. I haven't seen that much Rachel McAdams stuff actually. Because like I've never seen The Notebook.
Yeah.
I
She's
have.
usually such a sweet.
I've seen Family Stone, and
Yeah.
she's really good
love
in
her in
that.
Family Stone.
She's really good in that. And then what else have I seen her in? Definitely the Eurovision.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's like ridiculous, but
Yeah.
it's so good. I mean, it's Will Ferrell, so it's a little bit
Right.
ridiculous, but it's also really good, and she's
Yeah.
really good in it. And then I saw her. I just watched Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
I haven't seen it.
It's
Is it good?
very cute.
I remember reading the book when I was a girl.
Yeah.
We must increase the bust.
Yeah, it's a little modern. I mean, it still takes
Sure.
place at that time, but it's
Yeah.
a little, you know.
I just remember there's a scene in the book
But I
where
think they do still have like the bra scene.
do they?
I think so.
I just remember there's a scene when she gets her like period for the first time,
Yeah.
and they describe it's like the full front to back pad with the belt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow.
Yeah. That's all still in there too.
Like, I'm very glad that I grew up in a later time for that reason alone.
Oh my God, I know.
Like thank goodness for the advent of the panty liner.
Adhesive backing.
Right?
But still, it's also still a mess.
It is.
It
But
it like moves around.
Yeah.
Like it's just, I don't know.
I'd still rather have that than a whole belt.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, also it's been so long since I've like having an IUD. Like I just haven't.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah.
That digressed.
I know. That's random. But yeah, Rachel McAdams.
Yeah.
She's so good.
And I love that Lindsay Lohan is coming back again.
Yeah.
Like, I loved that Christmas movie that she did where she, like, is a skier in the mountains.
Oh, yeah. And she gets hit in the head?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I haven't seen her most recent one.
I haven't either, but I've heard it's cute.
Yes. I just love that she's getting to come back again. And
Yeah.
she seems healthier and happier.
Yeah.
And good for her.
Good for her.
So, I like to see some of those younger actresses that just, man. But again, like, it was hard back then. For
It was
us,
hard.
I can't even imagine what it was for them being in the spotlight,
Mm-hmm.
having to uphold these, like, ridiculous standards.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be on drugs too.
Right? Also, like, it's like the whole Drew Barrymore thing, right? When your parents don't care
Right.
and they put you out there and they let you do all this crazy stuff because they want access to all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Like, Drew Barrymore was, like, partying when she was, like, 13 years old.
Right?
You know? Yeah, it's just, it's too much.
Yeah. And I feel like not we, but like society was very unforgiving considering we put them in those situations.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Well, it's exactly, I mean, we just talked about Barbie last week, but like, it's exactly America Ferrera's monologue,
Yeah.
you know?
we have to be perfect
You have to be
all the time.
perfect all the time.
You can't fall, but you can't be too,
You can't be too perfect.
yeah.
You have to be thin, but you can't say you want to be thin.
No. You have to be healthy.
You have to say you want to be healthy,
Yeah.
but still be thin.
Yes. You
All
can't.
of it. Anyway.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't think there's anything else to say about that.
Let's go, Glen Coco.
Let's go, Glen Coco.
I mean, I know that that's the quote, but
You go.
my point is,
Let's go.
wrap it up.
All right.
All right.
On that note,
Always remember to have
thoughts
opinions
and questions.
yeah, we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
But Is It podcast is produced by Traci, Mueller, and Beth Hofeldt,
The artwork is by Anna Apperson.
and music by Devin Wall.